inaugural running of the Motorcraft Ford California Nationals. NHRA Winston drag racing season is starting its second half of the year with tremendous battle for the championship in all three professional categories. The 8th race of the season was recently completed in Englishtown, New Jersey, and it again reshuffled the standings in the Winston Championship chase. For the first time this season, Funny Car Eliminator saw a repeat winner when Don Prudhomme defeated Bruce Larson for the Summer Nationals title. Just one race earlier, Prudhomme had won his 36th national event title when he won the Grand Nationals in Canada. The Winston standings after Englishtown found Mark Oswald on top, with the three-time and defending Winston champ Kenny Bernstein in second, John Force third, Prudhomme fourth, with Larson only 1,000 points behind Oswald in fifth. The Summer Nationals marked the return of Ford dominance that has carried Bob Glidden to 8 Winston championships. The final round saw Glidden racing the defending champion, Jerry Ekman. The victory moved Glidden into third in the Winston championship chase. The top 5, headed by Bruce Allen, Tony Christian second, Butch Leal fourth, and Warren Johnson fifth. Joe Amato finally shed the bridesmaid image in Top Fuel at the Summer Nationals, winning his first title this year, and in the process defeated Eddie Hill. Earlier, Hill had beaten Amato twice in Joe's 4 previous final round appearances. The win was important to Amato, for it gave him the points lead in the Winston Championship. Second is Hill. Darrell Gwynn is third, Gene Snow fourth, and the reigning Winston champ, Dick LaHaye, is fifth. Now the 9th race of the season moves to California's Bay Area and Sears Point International Raceway. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland. Welcome to the inaugural Motorcraft Ford California Nationals and this magnificent view over Sears Point International Raceway. This track is jammed to the hillside with enthusiastic fans for this exciting race, and the big story here is in Top Fuel Eliminator. The #1 qualifier is Gene Snow. He qualified with a 5.13 second elapsed time, but with performance comes problems. For more on that story, here's my good friend, Steve Evans.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody who follows NHRA Top Fuel dragster racing knows that one man and his approach to the sport has been all the talk. He's Gene Snow, a modern-day pioneer of a high-gear-only car. Now, Gene won the Grand Nationals in Montreal. He won the Winston All-Stars. He's at the head of the class here with a 5.11 second elapsed time in the first round earlier today. All because he says there's no transmission in that car. But the downside has been exploded engines, a lot of them. Anytime you're making elapsed time with horsepower rather than torque multiplication as you do with the lower gear in a transmission, it's very hard on the bottom end. The engine is always straining. It breaks connecting rods. They get 3 or 4 runs on a crankshaft before it visibly starts to crack. So is near $200,000 in winnings worth all of this carnage? Well, only Gene's accountant knows for sure. Dave?
Steve, maybe that high engine mortality is one reason why more teams are not switching to the high gear only combination. This is Frank Hawley driving Larry Minor's Top Fuel dragster. Hawley, the operator of the drag racing school in Gainesville, Florida, is a noted racer. 2 times he won the Winston Championship at the wheel of the famed Chi-Town Hustler. Back in 1983 at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Hawley was at the wheel of the Chi-Town Hustler. In the final round, he raced against Dale Baldy. Hawley won the race and his 2nd consecutive Winston Championship that year. He ran a 5.92 on this run. That time would not even qualify you today. Before elimination, Steve had a chance to talk to Frank Hawley.
3.5 years ago, this man, Frank Hawley, retired from NHRA drag racing after having won 2 Winston Funny Car Championships to found the now famous drag racing school in Gainesville, Florida. Well, Frank is unretired. As of Sears Point, he'll run the rest of the season in Larry Minor's Top Fuel dragster. Frank, it's been a long time. You're in a car much quicker, much faster than you've ever driven. Your feelings about it?
Well, when I first got in the car, the thing that happens is that things just happen too fast for you. And it's going to take a few runs down that racetrack here this weekend so that they start to slow down a little bit in your mind so you can function properly. We were fortunate enough to get one off, and we're in the show quite well right now. And I think that, you know, we're starting out kind of slow, but we've got a lot of races to run for the rest of the year.
You find the hand and foot coordination is just a bit quicker than it used to take?
Well, I don't know if it's that. It's just how you perceive it, really. You're going down the racetrack, and everything I used to do that used to take a beat and a half kind of takes about a beat now. And, you know, that's just a matter of a little more time in the car.
Well, this man disproves that old sports adage that those who can't play coach. I think he's still a player.
Steve, while it's a mathematical impossibility for Frank Hawley to win the Winston Championship, he could sure mix things up a bit. He was scheduled to have run Frank Bradley in this second round of competition, but Bradley, in his first round race against the former Winston champion, Gary Beck, had serious engine problems. Beck was forced to shut off, giving a bye run to Bradley, and then this happened. The engine explosion and fire caused enough damage that prevented Bradley from answering the call for round number 2, and Frank Hawley gets the break of the race. A single run. In the first round, he ran 5.15 seconds when he defeated Gary Ormsby. Negotiating the quarter-mile racetrack and heading into the uphill shutdown area, Frank Hawley did not go as quick this run. 5.33 seconds. His speed, 267 miles an hour. On the starting line, you're in the cockpit of Eddie Hill's car, courtesy of the Diamond B Sports in-car camera. Hill doing his burnout. The competition for Hill is Joe Amato, winner at the Summer Nationals, and also utilizing the high gear only combination, the direct drive. From his seat in the top fuel dragster, Eddie Hill has got a great view of this overflow crowd that is intently watching the two best top fuel dragsters in the country. Steve?
Well, as we continue our welcome back, Frank Hawley, have to give you driving an A, the performance about a C. It fell off.
Well, it was pretty loose. The first round, it was just kind of on a wing and a prayer. I think that expression's been used before, but I thought it was a little touchy. We went out there. We knew we had a single because Frank Bradley couldn't come back. And we thought, well, let's just leave it. Let's see if we can repeat. Now we can step it down a little bit and see if we can come back here. We're in the semis. That's only the second single I've ever had in my entire life. That is so neat to only beat one guy and get into the semis.
Well, let's see if you beat the clock, because lane choice could be important.
Thanks a lot.
An animated and enthusiastic Frank Hawley returning to the driver's cockpit. Here's Eddie Hill. That's his wife, Ursi, out in front, backing him up into the proper spot. Eddie Hill qualified in the number 7 spot and defeated Dan Pastorini in round number 1, while Joe Amato qualified number 3 and beat Ray Stutz in the first round. This is a rematch, as you saw earlier, of the Summer Nationals final, where Joe Amato won his first race of the year and took the lead in the Winston Championship. As you ride with Eddie Hill in the Super Shop Special, he inches his way into the staging beams. Alongside of him in the near lane, Joe Amato doing the same thing. Tremendous acceleration. And Joe Amato drives by Eddie Hill for the victory. The time, 5.17 seconds. His speed over 275 miles an hour. And Joe Amato advances into the semifinals. The 1988 NHRA Motorcraft Ford California Nationals are being brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And by Motorcraft. Get the peace of mind of doing it right with the right parts. Motorcraft quality parts. And by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. More Top Fuel Racing in just a moment. This is crew chief Austin Coyle. Back in 1983, he was part owner and crew chief of the Chi-Town Hustler that you saw Frank Hawley drive to victory at the Gator Nationals and an eventual Winston Championship. That is Shirley Maldowdy here in round number 2 of Top Fuel Racing at the Motorcraft Ford California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway. And this is Gene Snow, the number 1 qualifier. Shirley, with her Performance Automotive Wholesale Special, backing into her own tracks left after the burnout. The burnout designed to heat those huge tires up to optimum operating temperatures. Shirley regaining the performance level that carried her to 3 Winston championships. She qualified number 5 with a 5:23. Jean Snow, the number 1 qualifier, defeated a red-lighting Daryl Gwynn in the first round with a 5:11 elapsed time, which stands as low ET of the meet thus far. Ron Tobler, the crew chief for Shirley Muldowney, making a final check of the engine as Shirley prepares herself to race against Jean Snow. Snow, by virtue of the lower elapsed time, had the choice of lanes. He selected the far lane. And Snow just drives away from Shirley Muldowney. His elapsed time, a 5.19 second charge at 270 miles an hour. That moves Snow into the semifinals. As the capacity crowd of over 32,000 cheers their favorites, the starting line comes to life with 2 4,000 horsepower race cars. This is Glenn Mikers racing against Dick LaHaye at the wheel of the Miller High Life Special. The lane choice in this race going to LaHaye. He selects the near lane as opposed to Jean Snow, who took the far lane. Indications the racetrack is equal. Steve?
Jean Snow, a nice pass, slowed down a little bit, 5:19.
Yeah, we just kind of want to win right now. I'm glad to get that. Okay.
The track as good as it was first round?
I don't believe it's quite as good, but the sun's going to bring up a little oil, and I think we're going to have to slow down a little. However, Amato went 17. We got to look out for him.
And the first time in a few months you've had this kind of good California air.
Yeah, I like it. I used to race here all the time. I like to be here all the time. Thank you.
Gene obviously enjoying himself in the California sunshine. This is Kim LaHaye. She is the crew chief on her dad's race car. She performs the heavy work along with her brother Jeff. Dick's wife Claudia involved. Dick, number 2 qualifier with a 5.20 second elapsed time. Glenn Mikers driving Dennis Forsell's Cable Value Network Special, qualified number 6 with a 5:26. The car owner and regular driver Dennis Forsell out of the cockpit for a few months for a medical problem. We hope to see him back very soon. Dick LaHaye in the near lane, going into the staging process. A green light start. And LaHaye, by more than a car length, advances to the semifinals. 5.27 seconds. His speed over 271 miles an hour. Outstanding performance by the reigning Winston champion. That sets up the final 4 in Top Fuel. It'll be the minor racing team cars. Dick LaHaye against Frank Hawley, with LaHaye having the lane choice. Jean Snow goes against Joe Amato, and Amato gets to select the lane he wants to race in. On the starting line, the factory hot rods, the Pro Stock Eliminator cars coming to the starting line. This is Don Campanello at the wheel of the Oldsmobile Forenza. Campanello has been one of the surprises of this event. Racing against him will be the Chevy Camaro of Reed Wisden. Let's go to Steve with Dick LaHaye.
Well, in the semifinal round, we're going to see an intramural battle as this man, Dick LaHaye, races his teammate Frank Hawley, and you've got lane choice by a tenth, 5:27 for your car.
Well, they went out and shook pretty hard. You know, those guys don't race much, but they sure know how to race, and it's going to be plenty tough. I mean, they, run 15 first round, and they'll be right there. There's no doubt about it.
You know, you told me the other day that you figured out what's wrong with this car. You weren't running it hard enough. It likes to be punished a bit.
Well, it does. It really does. We just stood on all the numbers and turned all the knobs up and turned the wick up a little bit like you would on an oil lamp, and the fire got bigger and it runs quicker. So we're going to try that for a while and see what happens.
All right, terrific. Good luck in the semi.
Thanks, Steve.
Dick LaHaye finally getting a handle on the elusive performance of his Top Fuel dragster. Reed Wisden, his jet black Camaro out of Hapeville, Georgia, defeated Nick Nicolas in round number 1 and qualified number 8. Don Campanello, the number 12 qualifier, pulled off a big upset when he defeated the Southern Nationals champ Warren Johnson in the first round of racing. A good start for both cars. In just a matter of inches, Don Campanello defeats Reed Wisden. Wisden with problems getting that car slowed down. He keeps it under control in the parachute, brings it to a safe stop. But what a close race. The advantage off the starting line going to Wisden by just about 1/100 of a second. Campanello began to make his move at about a half track. The Oldsmobile so slowly regained those inches that Wisnett was in the lead. And there you see the margin of victory for Don Campanello. On the starting line, having completed his long smoky burnout, Mark Powick tests the traction available to his Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. Another Pontiac. This is the Delco Battery Rod Shop special of the California Flash Butch Leal. Returning to the state that gave him his nickname, Leal now bases his racing activities in Blacklick, Ohio. Another Ohio driver, Mark Powick, defeated a red-lighting Larry Morgan in the first round, while Butch Leal used his starting line reactions to lay away the #1 qualifier, the driver of the Motorcraft T-Bird, Bob Glidden. It was a tremendous race in that first round. Leal was in the far lane. In the near lane was Bob Glidden. Leal moved first by 0.04 of a second, and Glidden was unable to overcome the starting line advantage. Glidden actually ran quicker by 0.02 of a second, but as you saw, the driving job for Butch Leal paid off and put him into round number 2 against Mark Powick. Now the two Pontiacs staging carefully, and it is Powick with the advantage. Butch Leal now has to drive down Mark Powick and cannot do it. Mark Powick upsets Butch Leal. Again, the starting line reactions pay off at the finish line. Powick at a 7.53 second elapsed time. His speed 183 miles an hour. As we look again, Mark Powick gained almost 0.06 of a second advantage at the starting line. If you live by the starting line reaction times, you also can fall prey to them. And like Bob Glidden before him, Butch Leal, with a quicker elapsed time, lost this race. In the funny car pit area, Johnny West watches as his crew readies the race car for the against Eric Reed. Funny cars coming up later at the California Nationals. Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway. Bob Glidden may be out of pro stock racing today, but he's got a new bullet in the trailer that he has high hopes for. Earlier, Steve Evans took a look.
3 years ago at Laguna Seca Raceway, right here in Northern California, the Ford Motor Company debuted one of the sleekest road racing machines of all times, the IMSA GTP Ford Probe. Well, the Probe is no longer on the circuit, but its name and some of its styling lives on in the 1989 Ford Probe road car and Bob Glidden's new Probe Pro Stock machine. This is a brand new car. You are the very first to see it. And let's look at some of the reasons the Glidden clan is so enthused. How about that slippery front end? Almost looks like a funny car. That is the Probe look. Now the windshield is raked back for better aerodynamics. Now something that's really important is the huge rear deck the Probe offers for better downforce. The car is also 4 inches narrower than the Thunderbird with the same track and a shorter wheelbase at 101 inches. The Thunderbirds have been good to Bob Glidden for sure, but it's redesigned for 89, a much bigger car, not suitable for pro stock. The Probe looks to be. It could debut as early as the Seafair Nationals, the next race on the circuit. You'll have that action right here on ESPN.
Steve, one thing for sure, that new Ford Probe will sure stir things up in pro stock racing. Here in round number 2 at the California Nationals, this is the Oldsmobile of Don Beverly racing against the Atco Chevy Beretta of Gordy Rivera. From Yuma, Arizona, Gordy Rivera qualified number 7 and defeated Joe Sway in round number 1, while Beverly was the number 11 qualifier and defeated Morris Johnson Jr. in the first round. Morris, of course, the winner of the Grand Nationals in Montreal, Canada this year. Beverly having won a national event, the 1986 Keystone Nationals. Rivera yet to take home his first NHRA title. And Rivera leaves a red light on the starting line. He left the line too soon, automatically disqualifying him. Don Beverly shuts it off to save the parts, obviously not worrying about lane choice in the semifinal round. On the starting line, it is a classic Pontiac versus Chevrolet battle. This is the Pennzoil Pontiac, driven by Jerry Ekman. He is racing against a very similar car, the bright yellow Camaro of Mike Fujita, driven by Harry Scribner. Qualifying number 14, Scribner upset Tony Christian in the first round. Jerry Ekman qualified in the number 2 spot and raced Bruce Allen, the current points leader on the Winston Championship Trail, in round number 1. Ekman was in the far lane. The Levi Garrett Chevy Beretta, driven by Bruce Allen, was in the near lane. It was a nearly identical start for both drivers. At half-track, Ekman had the lead and held on in the finish by a fender length to defeat Bruce Allen. Now, on the starting line in round number 2, it is Scribner in the near lane, Ekman in the far lane, and Scribner gets the advantage. A close race, and Scribner pulls it out. The Scribner brothers, Tom, Dick, and Harry, having a great day at the California Nationals. 7.47 seconds elapsed time. His speed, 188 miles an hour. As we get the chance to look again, you see Harry Scribner in the near lane pulled a hole shot or a starting line advantage over Jerry Ekman. And that paid off at the finish line. It was another close pro stock battle. Harry Scribner winning over Jerry Ekman. That gives him the right to race Don Campanello in the semifinals. Scribner has the choice of lanes. The other pair finds Mark Powick against Don Beverly, with Powick having the lane choice. Back in the pit area, the Frank Bradley Racing team heads for home to Orange, California. Bradley lost that engine in round number 1 of racing, now moves out of his top fuel dragster and behind the wheel of his 18-wheeler, taking the race car back to the shop, hopefully to sort out the problem. On the starting line, it's time for round number 2, racing in Funny Car Eliminator. This is Mike Dunn against John Force. The thundering burnout by John Force at the wheel of the Castrol GTX Oldsmobile, heating up those tires. Force, a very popular driver, not only here at the California Nationals, but throughout the Winston Drag Racing Tour. Mike Dunn is the fastest driver ever of a funny car at over 280 miles an hour. John Force qualified in the number 2 spot, defeating Winter Nationals champ Dale Puldy in round number 1, while Mike Dunn was the number 6 qualifier and defeated John Martin. Mike is a second-generation drag racing driver, following in the footsteps of his dad, Jim Dunn, who still competes at events mostly on the West Coast. Both drivers getting themselves prepared for the start. John Force begins to pull away, and by a tremendous margin of victory, John Force takes the win at a 5.48 second elapsed time, 260 miles an hour. Strong performance out of Force, who's headed to the semifinals. Meantime, back on the starting line, crew chief Leonard Hughes waiting the word to start Mark Oswald's race car for the next pair coming up in just a moment at the California Nationals. The California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway. The work's going on the racing engine in Joe Amato's car, getting it ready for the semifinal round race against Gene Snow. That'll be coming up later. Right now, we're in round number 2 competition of Funny Car Eliminator. Here's the Candies at Hughes Motorcraft Thunderbird, driven by the Winston points leader, Mark Oswald. His competition is Wally Giavia. The crew has yet to start the engine in Giavia's car. This is practically a hometown race car coming from Redwood City, California. Giavia pulled off a big upset when he defeated the number 8 qualifier Bruce Larson in the first round. Mark Oswald qualified 4th and defeated Brad Tuttle in his first round race. Oswald completing his burnout procedure, but the engine not getting started in Giavia's car. The crew frantically working. Apparently something is wrong with the electrical system. They're beating on the battery. The starter motor unable to turn the engine over, and what a frustration for Giavia to pull off an upset in the first round and then lose because of a mechanical failure, not even able to start the engine in round number 2. Oswald obviously going for the choice of lanes in the semifinals. He runs a 5.49 second elapsed time. His speed over 265 miles an hour. Oswald parlays his single into a strong showing for that semifinal. The Giavia car being pushed back to the pits, and you can just see the crewman saying, "Why us?" The body coming down on the hottest funny car on the circuit today. This is the Skull Bandit Pontiac, driven by Don Prudhomme. Right now, let's go to Steve Evans at the far end of the racetrack with Mark Oswald.
Well, in days of old, when you got a single run, it was considered a major break because you could take it easy on your equipment. Those days are gone. You hit it hard, 549.
There's no taking it easy when you got to run like guys like John Force in the next round, you know. We're happy to get the Thunderbird this far. It's tough.
Racing against Don Prudhomme will be Jim Head. Head also utilizes the direct drive or high gear only combination. In round number 1, he defeated Scott Coletta after qualifying 11. Don Prudhomme qualified number 7, and earlier before elimination, Steve had a chance to talk to him.
There's no better hands working on a funny car today than the crew of Don the Snake Prudhomme. Back-to-back championship titles, 8 consecutive round wins, low ET of every one of those rounds. And Don, what are the emotions of being on top now as compared to 8 years ago when you wore the number 1?
Yeah, that's a good question because, you know, certainly things have really changed. You know, the nice part is, though, is the fans and people that believed in us and that we'd come back and win a race or two. That makes me feel good when they walk up to me and say, hey, great.
Has the Snake changed?
Well, from the standpoint of working a little better with my crew and letting them take more responsibility on the race car than I used to, yeah, I've changed a lot in that area.
Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
This is the man that wants to put an end to that win streak. It is Jim Head. In the first round, Richard Hartman could not do it. Don Prudhomme in the far lane. And a big victory over Jim Head. 5.50 seconds for Prudhomme. 263 miles an hour. Jim Head out of competition today, but Prudhomme into the semifinals. Here now is Johnny West. West is racing against Eric Reed. After some engine problems earlier in the season, Reed is making a strong showing here at the midpoint of the Winston Drag Racing Series. His competition, Johnny West at the wheel of the Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona, another in the long series of great drivers who have handled race cars for Roland Leon. West qualified 13th and defeated Ed McCulloch in the first round, while Eric Reed, the number 9 qualifier, was faced with the toughest race of all. He had to go against the number 1 qualifier, Kenny Bernstein. Reed qualified with a fine 5.52 seconds. That's good for number 9. But while qualifying gets you into the program, it's what happens on race day that counts. In the first round, Eric Reed put a dramatic pole shot on Kenny Bernstein, and by more than a car length, upset the number 1 qualifier.
Here's a young man that just made a tremendous stride towards being a professional drag racer. You have beaten the Winston champion, Eric Reed. Congratulations. 5:48, the quickest of your life.
Oh, you're kidding, Steve.
I wouldn't kid you.
We've been waiting a long time for this moment. Having a lot of problems with this car, as you saw that last round. We've been burning up motors and everything, and everyone was telling me I had a lot of confidence, not too much confidence, built up for one of my heroes in the sport, and I don't know, it just came around.
Eric Reed has the choice of lanes here in round number 2. He selected the near lane, putting Johnny West in the far lane. Both drivers concentrating on the start, and it's a red light for Eric Reed. He left the starting line too soon. Johnny West, the automatic winner. He takes it easy with a 5.97 at 185 miles an hour. The too quick start disqualifies Eric Reed. The semifinals find Don Prudhomme against Johnny West, with Prudhomme having the choice of lanes. The other pair, a tremendous battle between John Force and Mark Oswald. Force with the choice of lanes. We'll be right back to Sears Point. Raceway in the Motorcraft Ford California Nationals. I'm Dave McClelland, along with Steve Evans, and it's 2 team cars in the semifinals of Top Fuel Eliminator. Frank Hawley returning to competition at the wheel of the Larry Minor race car. The team car of Larry Minor, driven by Dick LaHaye, is in the near lane. LaHaye, the reigning Winston champion, finally beginning to get back the performance that carried him to the title last season. Hawley smokes the tires, but he stays in it. to no avail as Dick LaHaye moves to the final round with a 5.30 second elapsed time. His speed 271 miles an hour. Frank Hawley lost traction just a couple of 100 feet off the starting line, and that spelled doom for his chances to make the finals of this California Nationals. When the traction went away, it was indicated by the billowing clouds of burning rubber coming off the back of his top-fuel dragster. The final race in this round of competition will pit the quickest car on this racetrack, Gene Snow, against the TRW Special of Joe Amato. Both drivers utilizing the high gear only or direct drive competition. Snow, the quickest car of the event at a 5.11, but Amato in this round has the lane choice. Steve?
Well, it's hard to second guess these race cars, but Dick LaHaye lane choice may have paid off for you there. He smoked the tires.
Well, I guess we got lucky there. You know, when you're talking in thousands of seconds and so forth, it sometimes it's very important. And we was pretty comfortable. It got pretty loose out there that run also.
A 5:30, a little slower than you had hoped?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I guess it's just a little too stout. It's out there spinning the tires.
The concern of every race driver, spinning the tires. Gene Snow in the Amalie Special is in the far lane. In the near lane, it's Joe Amato. And Snow goes up in smoke. Joe Amato thunders to a 5.19 second elapsed time. Great run here in the heat of the day for Gene Snow. He lost as a result of striving for, even yet, a quicker elapsed time. The final pair will be Joe Amato against Dick LaHaye, and Amato will have the lane choice in the final. This is a rematch of the finals at the Winter Nationals this year when Dick LaHaye took the victory. Steve?
Well, Joe Amato came down through the shutdown area, clapping his hands together. A tremendous display of power, a 5.19.
Steve, in this heat, that's pretty good. My guys have been doing a good job all summer. You know, Tim Richards, Jeff Rogers, Colin Roach, Jim Walsh. You know, it's just a steadiness and the consistency of this car is unbelievable.
And the high gear cars are fun to drive. You can enjoy the ride.
Yeah, you got that 5-stage clutch. It's like hitting overdrive 5 times. I mean, it really gives you about 4 Gs, 5 Gs, and a kick in the pants every time. Boy, it's fun.
And it gave you lane choice. And we just saw in those 2 races. That could be very important.
Yeah, that's been real critical all day. We've been really working hard to get lane choice, but we're in the final again. What can I say? It's exciting.
All right.
Good job, guys.
More racing from the Motorcraft Ford California Nationals in just a moment. Ford California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway. It's the semi-final round of competition in Funny Car Eliminator. John Force in the near lane. Mark Oswald in the far lane. Force had the choice of lanes. He put Oswald in that far lane of the racetrack where we have seen the 2 semifinalists in top fuel go up in smoke. With every round of competition, Mark Oswald is continuing to extend his lead over the number 2 car in the Winston Points chase, Kenny Bernstein, who went out in the first round. Now with our Quaker State Quick Facts, here's Steve Evans.
In the good old days of top fuel dragster racing, the crews used a pickup truck or a station wagon to push start the car to fire the engine. Well, along came funny cars, and they didn't like doing that. They crashed too many bodies. So it was the funny car contingent that came up with the first of the self-starters. Dragsters later adopted it. And really, this hasn't changed much since about 1969. What it is, it's a helicopter turbine starter. Now, it's adapted with this bracket, and that interlocks with another bracket on the top blower pulley. And when they push the starter button right here, it fires a solenoid, and that shaft jumps out, and that's what turns the motor over and gets it started. Now, this is a 24-volt unit, but most teams like Larry Miners here take no chances. In the back of their wagon, they've got 3 heavy-duty 12-volt batteries, and they'll put those on a trickle charge every night of the event. Now, you may wonder why it's always the moose of the team that handles the starter. Because it weighs 80 pounds.
I haven't seen Steve work that hard in 20 years. On the starting line, it's Mark Oswald against John Force. Force with a very slight advantage time-wise over Oswald coming into this race. And John Force has problems. Now Oswald shuts off. And Oswald coasts across the finish line, putting the Candies and Hughes car into the finals of the California Nationals. Back at the starting line, there's 1 car ready to start. It is Don Prudhomme. He gets the biggest break of this event as his competition Johnny West was unable to answer the call and make this semifinal round. Prudhomme, when he negotiates this racetrack, will move into the finals to race Oswald. Let's go to Steve at the far end with John Force.
Well, John, it appeared to be on a pretty good pass, and something happened.
She was good. She shook pretty good, and it was marching. I didn't even see him, and then rear end just let go. It's one of them mechanical things.
No way you can get back on the power if the rear end's disconnected.
No, you can't. The only thing really makes me mad, but Prudhomme's right on my bumper here in the points deal, and he got the choice, and somebody needs to sink that old boy now.
Used to be his hero.
Steve, you can tell just how fickle race car drivers can be. Prudhomme now has got the single. He will be trying for lane choice, and it should be easy, as Oswald only had a 6.72 second elapsed time to cover the quarter-mile distance from a standing start. Prudhomme, with a wisp of tire smoke, drives through it to a 5.50 second elapsed time. His speed over 249 miles an hour. So for the third consecutive race, Don Prudhomme is in the finals of a Winston Drag Racing Championship, this time against Mark Oswald, with Prudhomme having the choice of lanes. If you want to have as much fun as these fans, mark on your calendar the Labor Day weekend. That's the granddaddy of them all, the biggest drag race of all, the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park in Indianapolis. Then the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals, September 15th through the 18th. That's at Maple Grove Raceway in Reading, Pennsylvania. And following that, the inaugural Fran Super Nationals, October 6th through the 9th at the brand new facility in Houston, Texas. Let's go to Steve.
Well, the numbers that Don Prudhomme just posted certainly are not good news for his final round opponent, Mark Oswald. Don, the Pontiac ran a 550 at only 249 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's something's wrong with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, we're not really sure why. It's just starting to slow down. It's just kind of flattening out the big end.
But that slowest speed usually means you had to shoot a little earlier, lifted at the first light.
Yeah, I shut it off a little bit early. I knew I had a single, but it spun the wheels real bad leaving the start line up there. So we just got to hook it up a little bit more, Steve.
And you've got lane choice. It looks like that could be a factor.
Well, yeah, but Mark's, he's tough, so we'll step on it.
All right. Should be a great funny car final. Don Prudhomme, Mark.
That'll be coming up a little bit later at the California Nationals. My final round of Pro Stock Eliminator at the California Nationals. Don Beverly bringing his Oldsmobile to the starting line to do battle with the Pontiac Trans Am Firebird of Mark Powick. Very closely matched race cars. The driving skills could spell the difference. Mark Powick out first. Comes from behind to go into the finals. His elapsed time, a 7.50 seconds. Howick had built up a big lead off the starting line by virtue of a much better reaction time to the green light. But partway down the racetrack, Howick had problems allowing Beverly to pull alongside and then, just by a matter of inches, squeeze out the victory that put him into the finals.
Don Beverly saying, "I'm sorry," to Mark Powick. That's how nice a guy he is. You're not really sorry. You won a 750 to a 758.
Mark's my buddy, and I tell you, that was really exciting. You celebrated a lot. Linkage broke right as I got to the first light, and
So the throttle closed.
the throttle closed, and I was really lucky, and I thought he was going to come back by on me. I tell you, this Oldsmobile really has, we came back in a hurry.
That may be a bit of an understatement for a man who has failed to qualify in the last 22 Winston Drag Racing events. On the starting line, the bright yellow Camaro driven by Harry Scribner, enjoying his best day of competition, as is Don Campanello at the wheel of the Oldsmobile in the far lane. Starter Buster Couch telling Campanello back it up and restage the car. You can see inside the vehicle. One hand on the steering wheel, the other hand on the multiple levers of the planetary gearbox. Just pulling those levers changes the gears. Harry Scribner has the choice of lanes. He's selected the near lane. The two cars now making their final moves into the staging beams. And a good start for Scribner. A close race at the finish line. Harry Scribner, a 7:48. For the first time in a career that dates back nearly 30 years, Harry Scribner has put his pro stock into the finals of an NHRA championship event. As we look again, you can see the advantage that Scribner got at the starting line. It was nearly 0.07 of a second head start that he had in the bank when he left the line. Campanello tried valiantly to make it up, but was unable to do so as Scribner hung on and by more than a car length crossed the finish line ahead of Don Campanello. That sets up the California Nationals Pro Stock Finals. Harry Scribner against Don Beverly, with Scribner having the lane choice. Steve?
Well, Harry Scribner has just achieved that rare feeling after 20 years of drag racing of going to his first final round. It's great.
Yeah, it's nice. We're having a ball. We had a little trouble with the clutch and had to change it between rounds, and I was worried about what would happen with it, and it looks like it's working pretty well.
Feel as good as you always hoped it would?
Oh, yeah.
Harry Scribner.
The further I get into the final, the more settled I get, so.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. The first round's the toughest in many ways.
First round is really the toughest. Then you get settled into it and you start moving.
Congratulations, Harry Scribner versus Don Beverly. That's your Pro Stock final.
The finals of the California Nationals, right after this. For the California Nationals, Jeff LaHaye putting the final touches on his dad's race car as it's getting ready for the final round appearance against Joe Amato. That'll be coming up in just a few moments. Right now on the starting line, it is time for the Pro Stock Finals. In the near lane is Don Beverly. In the far lane is Harry Scribner, who had the choice of lanes in this final round confrontation. A green light start. Race at the finish line. Harry Scribner wins it. The entire crew celebrating the first ever victory for Harry Scribner. Let's watch again. You see here the advantage by Harry Scribner at the start. It was 0.03 of a second difference between the two drivers in their reaction to that green light. At the finish line, that is what was the margin of victory for Harry Scribner, as both drivers recorded identical 7.49 second elapsed time. Harry Scribner, your Pro Stock champ.
Well, Harry Scribner, his brothers Tom and Dick have done something not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can do. You've won an NHRA national event in Pro Stock. I'll shake that hand.
Winning our home state, that's pretty good.
How long have you been trying?
Well, we've been racing. We had some records back in '57. My uncle used to run super stock and stuff. Ever since then, we've been on and off racing and doing the business stuff and all that.
When we come back, we'll find out if this man, Don Prudhomme, can make it 3 in a row. I'm Dave McClellan, along with Steve Evans at the Motorcraft Ford California Nationals at Sears Point International Raceway, and it's time for the Funny Car Finals. Don Prudhomme aiming for 3 in a row. Mark Oswald trying for his second win this season. Based on total performance throughout the day, Oswald has got to be considered the favorite in this race, but the lane choice going to Prudhomme may equal things out. The drivers coming into the staging beams and a good start. An incredible race. It is the 4th Thunderbird of Mark Oswald taking the win over Don Prudhomme. Listen to the time. 5.51 seconds for Oswald. Prudhomme at 5.52. It could not have been much closer. As we look again, you see a lot of clutch dust off of both cars, indicating the clutches absorbing the horsepower. Down to the finish line they race, with Mark Oswald ahead by just a matter of inches. Oswald, your funny car champion.
Some sensational driving has carried Mark Oswald into the winner's circle for the second time this year. You ran a 51 to Snake's 52, a classic drag race.
Oh, yeah, it was a good race, and Snake's really been tough. We're proud to be able to defeat a car like his, you know, especially here at the Motorcraft race, and all our Stroh's people are here, you know. It just couldn't be any better for us, and all the other cars in the points lead went out fairly early, so we really helped ourselves.
Could you see him down the racetrack?
No, I didn't really, but that doesn't mean he wasn't right there. These cars you sit so far back in, you know, you tend not to be able to see anybody. I don't really take anything for granted.
Is there such a thing as feeling him there, knowing he's there?
Well, I felt I was ahead. That's all I could say.
Great job. Terrific.
Thanks, Steve.
Oswald, the last Winston champion before the 3 in a row by Kenny Bernstein. Oswald would like to put a stop to that win streak, too. Now, the Top Fuel Eliminator Final. Joe Amato, his wife Jerry, out directing traffic. Alongside of him is Dick LaHaye, his daughter Kim doing the same. What an incredible rivalry has developed between these two drivers over the past 2 seasons of competition. 7 times they have met in eliminations in Winston drag racing events. 5 times the win light has come on for Dick LaHaye. Joe Amato trying to use this California Nationals Finals to bring that margin just a little bit closer. Amato, having the choice of lanes, selects the far lane of the racetrack. As we have seen in both Pro Stock and Funny Car Finals, that really doesn't make any difference. They're both staged. A tremendous race. And Joe Amato pulls it out for the 2nd time in a row with an elapsed time of 5.17 seconds. Joe Amato defeats the 5:18 by Dick LaHaye. Look at him applauding as he knows he has extended his lead in the Winston Championship even further. Here's the race in replay. Amato and LaHaye so close off the starting line, the slight advantage going to Amato. As the finish line drew close, Amato stayed ahead, holding off LaHaye's charge. Amato wins the California Nationals.
I've been in the final so many times this year and smoked the tires, and I wanted to win. I was hungry for the win because, you know, it's critical right now.
Did you know you'd left on him just a little bit?
Well, I thought I left a little bit, and we were side by side. I was just hoping nothing dumb would happen going down the track. You know, your mind revs 100,000 miles an hour. All you're thinking is the transmission's going to break, the rear end's going to break, something, but nothing broken. Thank God we're here. What a win.
You're always going 100,000 miles an hour. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, Crew did an outstanding job this weekend. You know, they've been working hard all year, and finally we got the winner's circle. Maybe we can rip their hearts out.
Joe Amato, he just might be the Winston champion when it's all said and done.
The win builds even further. Amato's lead in Top Fuel. Prudhomme moves into 3rd in Funny Car, and it's very tight in Pro Stock Eliminator. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Sears Point International Raceway. The 1988 Motorcraft Ford California Nationals have been brought to you by Motorcraft. Get the peace of mind of doing it right with the right parts. Motorcraft quality parts. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. Fuel Quaker State with QSX keeps engines cleaner to last longer. The NHRA California Nationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports.